I have not uploaded since this day, and I hit this milestone on this day. And since it's been so long since I've been on camera, I now look like this. I've been itching to make this video for about, let's call it 2.5 years. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was everything to me, and besides Tom Blythe's portrayal of Snow, it was Rachel Zegler and her voice that have remained with me through the passage of time. Ever since this movie, she has been obliterating life, and I feel like those that don't follow her don't really know it. Oops, I didn't hit record.
And why? Why is this the topic of discussion? Well, for one, I'm interested in a conversation about an individual. And two, I'm just so fascinated by her trajectory from controversial Disney statements to EVITA,
for which she has won an Olivier Award for Best Actress in a Musical,
which is basically a British Tony Award, which EVITA is now coming to Broadway next February. But I'm jumping ahead, and after much consideration on what to speak on, we shall start at the very beginning with Disney statements. Well, hold on, okay? Rachel Zegler was in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, haven't seen it yet, and captured a Golden Globe for her performance. The movie brought her to the limelight and was the general public's introduction to her. And then the Disney arc began.
It all happened in June, 5 years ago. God damn, it's been that long? Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White for the live-action adaptation, and obviously comparisons were made. This don't look like that.
Hell, I raise an eyebrow myself when a character is casted by a differing actor.
Pedro Pascal, Last of Us, Fantastic Four.
Caught me off guard, but I love him.
When I look at these photos, I think Rachel turned alright for the role. It's one thing to have an opinion on something, and it's another to voice your opinion in a hateful manner. Why did Disney cast such an ugly-looking Rachel Zegler as Snow White? Zegler's casting was initially criticized by some people who questioned why a Latina actress was playing a character celebrated, I don't know about celebrated, for having skin as white as snow. Unless she is celebrated. Like, I stepped away from the mic, but who's jumping and saying, alright! And like clicking their heels because she has white ass skin. Mind you, this was 5 years ago. There's been build up to this shit, but I want to leave that at that. The point is, there was criticism of her casting.
And then she started speaking. This is still the Disney section. I just want it to be dramatic. When you speak publicly, you might be criticized on what you are saying, especially if it is a sensitive topic. Fortunately for me, I can formulate my words prior.
A little over a year after the casting announcement in September of 22, she goes on to say the following during an interview with Variety.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Keeping up with her post-Hunger Games and looking back at that, the person you just saw is a complete different person than the stage wizard she is now. My intention was just to show the three statements back to back, but I need to show you some of the comments in that interview.
So they're taking the love out of a classic love story. Gotcha. Not every girl wants to be a leader. Plenty of girls want to find love that's perfectly healthy. Snow White is one of Disney's most treasured, most iconic works of art, with songs that people sang for decades like Hi-Ho. Funny enough, I mentioned that song later. You will see. This will be completely forgotten. Walt Disney's rolling his grave, his first ever film, one of the most revolutionary movies ever made. I usually just ignore these remakes, but this is where I draw the line. This is straight up unforgivable. Grow up. I will not have this injustice. Like, come on, bro. We'll end it here. Probably the most expensive interview in the history for Disney. Damn.
Look, the early 2020s were a crazy time. You remember. A lot of stuff happened. And she was right at that age of impressionable young adult thinking. I don't know. Let's move forward.
There is a clip for everything. I love it. Here's statement 2 in an interview with Entertainment Weekly.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once, so I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years. When I was doing this film.
Actually watching it with context versus just reading it hits different, but I remember thinking, why would you go for this role if you're not necessarily a big fan of the source material? Why are you admitting this publicly?
We are going back to that Entertainment Weekly video for statement 3, where she expresses Snow White is dated.
Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
Can't wait for the live action remake of 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘾𝙄𝘼𝑺. Love it when the villain is more charismatic and likable than the protagonist. Oh, how times have changed. I want the evil queen to win this time. Ugh! She's only watched it twice in her life? Nah, you gotta be a fan to even think about being this iconic character. Zegler gives off this, I deserve this role more than anyone else. He's used wrong then. And the fact she has zero good to say about the original is disgusting that she even got the part. Disgusting. Rachel, if you hated Snow White so much, why did you accept the role? I don't get it. Which you're about to see that I kind of felt the same way with a 51 to 49%. You're about to see that part.
So I'm not tracking every little reaction from people, every comment from Rachel, but all of this might be a little bit familiar for you. I might slap on another statement on screen if I can find it. I wrote this part like 2 to 3 weeks ago and have no idea what statement I'm referencing. I just knew she was in West Side Story at this point in time, so my Zegler judgment meter was neutral. But after all this discourse, it was skewed 51% negative, 49% positive. While I really considered skipping over this part, thinking the audience is more or less informed of her origin story, it really does help paint the narrative I'm trying to build here. Well, that's for streaming, so actually 6 months. The Shazam sequel came out. She said this.
What made you want to step into this world of DC heroes? I needed a job. I'm being so serious.
Because West Side Story hadn't come out and life hadn't exploded yet. Movies are a part of an actor's job. And she also said this.
I love the first movie, and the fact that they even wanted me to come in for a callback and then a chem read and then everything in between. I'm so lucky that I got this job. I made some of my best friends on this job.
Closing the book on that, the first Shazam is so good, and it's a shame the second one couldn't push that bar of greatness. And then the DCEU collapsed, but that's a whole conversation, and we don't have time for that because that same year,
I love this movie. I released my video on it on New Year's Eve. The Ballad of Lucy Gray Bear landed number 4 on my 2024 top songs. The movie has split opinions as always. Perfect reminder to engage in media for yourself. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes wasn't nominated in the Big 5 award ceremonies, and 2 of its 4, I don't know, second tier ceremonies wins are for Olivia Rodrigo's song. But if we zoom into People's Choice,
I mean, is a star not born? As if she already didn't have a Golden Globe. By this point, it had been 1 year and 2 months since her Snow White interviews, and they became less of a topic of conversation. But from someone who knew about her statements and formulated that 51-49% opinion, the tide was turning. Enjoying her performance and even noticing in interviews how she was composing herself.
Reading the book, you read it as if she has a Southern drawl, but they don't necessarily specify it. And so when I got that specificity, it changed my performance that I had envisioned in my mind and gave me a whole new way into her as a character.
Frankly, it was enough to tip the scales for me. Not that I ever held a deep disgust, but this was someone I cheer on now. Publicly, for that matter.
As the 𝙈𝙾, getting to learn that was very, very comforting for me because my home turf is being able to sing and share musical gifts. And that's always been my top skill on my resume, is that I am a singer and a lover of music.
6 months later, one day after my birthday, Romeo and Juliet is announced. Rachel, along with stand-man Kit Connor, lead the cast. Preview started at the beginning of September. I meant the end of September.
And ran until the middle of February of 2025.
If the measure of thy joy be heaped like mine, then sweeten with thy breath this neighbor air.
Conceive more rich in matter than in words brags of his substance, not of ornament. They are but beggars that do nothing.
Broadway.com, an actual source of stage show information and a seller of tickets, potentially high prices according to multiple sources, allows purchasers to review. I liked Rachel Zegler's exquisite voice and the attempt to provide a modern interpretation of Shakespeare's classic. Unfortunately, too vulgar and extreme for my taste. Inappropriate content for children. The show did not explain what age group should not be in this audience. I enjoyed Juliet and Romeo. I did not get the others and the provocative dancing and vulgar actions. I understand the modernization, but there is a way to do that without being vulgar.
What on earth happened day in and day out on this stage? Let me just give you 3 positive ones now.
I had never seen that much talent and experience before. Everything about �R+J was magical, from the actor's performance to the music, lights, and staging. The wonderfulness of this show made me want to stare at a wall for the rest of my existence. Every single person that worked on it was amazing at their job, and it showed. Just attended a brilliant performance of Romeo and Juliet. Modern, energetic, with a twist on a classic play. Shakespeare would have been proud. Both Rachel Zegler and Kit Connor were outstanding, as was the entire cast. Congratulations. End of the second line. The cast are all outstanding and deliver the message that this is a play about the lives of young people, no matter the era. The music truly enhances the show, and when Rachel Zegler sings Man of the House, the audience is deeply moved. She and Kit Connor are the best couple that I've ever seen in these roles. And that's all I'm going to read from there, but you could always pause, and even as I'm yapping now, you could freaking read it for yourself.
Man, that kind of brings back the FOMO. Ticket prices for a good seat, and taking the time out to drive to a city that's a little over 2 hours away. Just, the stars did not align.
Romeo and Juliet went on to be Tony nominated for Best Revival of a Play. It also received 1 nomination at the Drama Desk Awards for Outstanding Fight Choreography.
Apparently the Drama Desk Awards are second to Tony's. Little fun fact if you know squat about theater accolades. And back to Broadway.com and their Audience Choice Awards, which may be the biggest audience-based awards. Ms. Zegler received 3 total nominations, winning Favorite Lead Actress in a Play.
It's a group of 20-something-year-olds who broke into Circle in the Square on Broadway and have to get something out, to get something off their chest.
Oh, that's interesting.
The play really deals with a lot of things that somehow relate to a modern audience, even though it was written 500 years ago. And
isn't that what?
Yeah.
Now, Romeo and Juliet was a period of time between September 2024 and February 25. But in between, she actually was involved in 2 movies.
Spellbound, perhaps an inoffensive and average musical animated movie, follows a princess who must reverse the spell that transformed her parents into these goofy monsters you see on screen. The movie released on Netflix and touches on divorce and how a couple's children are never the issue.
I think, okay? I didn't watch it. Can you see that? I just dripped water.
But I did watch Y2K, released 2 weeks after Spellbound, directed by ex-SNL cast member Kyle Mooney. Also stars Jaden Martell and distributed by A24. It follows a group of teens right before the turn of the millennia, where machines eventually come to life and
What's the phrase? Wreak havoc? I look at this and I'm like, come on. It is a little over the top and some personalities may think it's corny, but for a casual watch, I loved it.
Oh, shit. Go chat, motherfuckers. It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up.
It's humorous, and who doesn't love practical effects?
It was really cool to see it all come together and look exactly like the concept art.
Y2K definitely slipped under the radar for the whole Rachel Zegler verse here. Outside of the box office and minimal reception coverage, Rachel was on Broadway and Spellbound had just released 2 weeks prior.
I was a late addition to the film. There was just an open spot that they really needed to fill. I read the script like with barely any Wi-Fi and just fell in love with it, and the idea of working with Kyle was so exciting to me, and just immediate yes, it's so fun.
From what I can tell, Spellbound was seen more and had more coverage.
And there was no promise of getting the part or getting to do the movie at all. And so when I ended up getting asked to do it about 2 years later.
2 years later?
Yeah, wow. I was working on that music for so long, but there are songs in the final cut of the movie, which you'll see tomorrow on Netflix, that were recorded in my childhood home, in my attic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
All of this to say.
in the year of 2024, Rachel Zegler was in 2 movies that both involved well-known people and co-led an adaptation of one of the most popular plays of all time. And despite Romeo and Juliet pulling off the youngest audiences in Broadway history, as I said in the very beginning, Rachel Zegler has been taking life by the collar but it feels like nobody knows it. And I think I can prove it.
Yo, I hate this title format. I watch blank so you don't have to. Like, who asked you to do that? Huh?
And the gall behind typing that title out, I'm gonna watch something for the sake of society. I tried pizza so you don't have to. I tried ice cream so you don't have to. I sucked
So from September 2022 to about 2.5 years later, where Shazam with DC, the Hunger Games' beloved franchise, her Broadway debut Romeo and Juliet with Netflix's Spellbound, Y2K's A24 Association, and her growth in between just doesn't really exist. Whew.
It doesn't. We live in a society where once you do something infamous, you become tied to it. A famous phrase is, didn't this person blank? Isn't it the same person that blank? And okay, the Snow White movie was okay. I thought Rachel was the best part of it all, and the dwarves were ugly as hell to me at first, but then I got used to them. I fell in love with Hi-Ho and Whistle While You Work. The songs were back to back in the movie, and I just had a freaking blast.
We always sing hi-ho, hi-ho, the highest high I know.
Bickering won't fix a thing, so whistle while you work.
But the quality of the movie and Ms. Zegler's early statements were the perfect starter logs to go ahead and create some of the videos. Personally, I'd only rewatch Snow White for Rachel's performance and the music.
I think this section doesn't need much more expansion as it is a notable stain, and we move forward.
There is a message that's been carried on for almost 90 years now from the original animated classic. That is, fairness is what is within. Fairness is to do with your heart, the way you treat the people around you.
Snow White has been released. The fire has been stoked.
EVITA is a musical that follows the life of Eva Evita Duarte from Argentina, who later married Juan Perón, a military colonel. Eva Perón was an actress, activist, and through her marriage with Juan, who became eventual president of Argentina, politician and first lady. As a woman that came from little, the working class was on her side. It opened in 1978. Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music for EVITA, while the lyrics were by Tim Rice. EVITA went on to win Best New Musical and Best Performance at the 1978 Laurence Olivier Awards. A year later, it came to Broadway and swept 7 awards at the Tonys in 1980.
And here we are, December 11th, 2024. Jamie Lloyd, no direct relation to Andrew Lloyd Webber, was announced to direct a revival of EVITA in the West End.
March 14th of 2025, Rachel Zegler is announced to star as the leading role. You had a chance to witness the show from mid-June to early September of last year.
Oh no, I'm not gonna cry. I'm like in despair because of how rich I became this summer with love and friendship. And that is the thing that's like the most heartbreaking part of having a good time, is that it does have to come to an end.
You already know they ran it back at the Olivier Awards, which I said all the way in the beginning is a British Tony basically, where Rachel won for Best Actress in a Musical.
Is a star not born? Just watching her stories through this time, I could sense that this was a big deal. The balcony scene, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. And just Rachel herself were the biggest draws I kept hearing about.
This is the first comment on the video, and I love it because it ties into my theme here. EVITA feels like a sort of breaking of the mold for Rachel Zegler. Even though it's not entirely true, EVITA was a retreat to England, a vanishing smoke bomb act away from the United States, where she was villainized.
And she is back. Just barely 2 months ago at the end of April, it was announced that EVITA is sailing its way to Broadway starting February of next year to apparently November 2027. And I will be there. And you bet your sweet bottom she's coming for a Tony Award. I don't have my ticket just yet, but I am not missing out. I have a tagline in this video that I keep coming back to, that Rachel Zegler has boosted her star power. She has leveled up a ton since 2021, but it feels like no one knows. Well, funny enough, I tried writing this freaking video over the course of a damn month, and just recently she posted a couple of photos that lured some cave dwellers out.
I think I'll just slap some on screen, but some people still hold strong opinions because of her past, which is old news. But at the end of the day, these are faceless freaks. And on a separate post, she has some love. There's hope out there.
When you came out to the balcony and you sang, when they first told you that idea, were you like, don't be ridiculous, guys?
Oh no, I was like, whatever we need to do, let's make it happen. There were more people on closing night outside than there were sat inside.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Wow. There were like 3,000 people, I think, outside for the final night. It went all the way down to the IKEA.
I am afraid our time here has come to an end. We have reached the current timeline, and Ms. Zegler does have 3 upcoming movies that are star-studded and sound very promising in their own rights. They're all different genres, I guess, along with EVITA in 7 months. I hope at least one person out there considers Rachel Zegler in a new light, because she's only human, and we all are. It took me absolutely way too long to write this one, so things just kind of fizzled, but I should be back to uploading for fun very soon. So love what you like, protect your energy, and I have no sign-off line today. I'll let Rachel say something.
Waiting on a Wish comes at Snow White's lowest moment in the first act of the film, and it's such a universal feeling for young people, for young women in particular. I can always dream, but then I wake up and it's me again, and I'm just waiting on a wish. One of my favorite lyrics in the film comes in the 3rd act with Snow White Returns, where she says, "You are everything you've been wishing and waiting for," and that's the resolve. So we need power ballads like that. We need to sing through our hopelessness.
Well, hold on. Rachel Zegler was in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Haven't seen it yet. And won a Golden Globe for her performance. Why am I saying it so weird?